And come on, recording. Why is it not? There we go. All right. So sorry about that. So essentially the ones I read over essentially said the same thing, that she runs away from home for, 4.5 miles an hour and then turns around and comes back home. So I would say something like Shannon ran away from home, and let's be super specific here just for the formal one. So she ran away from home for an hour. Why can't I hear myself? There, I can't hear myself anymore. Shannon ran away from home for an hour. And then turned around and ran and back home. If I wanted to be super specific, maybe I would even add on she ran 4.5 miles each way. Just to be super specific. Let me see some of the graph 2 situations y'all wrote down. Ran approximately 4 miles every hour in a consistent rate. Good. Runs 8 miles in 2 hours away from her home. Great. Steady pace of 4 miles per hour. Awesome. For every 1 hour she runs 4 miles. Yep. Again, pretty much all saying the same thing, which is awesome. I would personally choose, I don't know, ran away from home for 2 hours and ran 8 miles. So maybe I would say something like Shannon ran away from home for 2 hours and she ran 8 miles. Again, pretty much anything that y'all put down for that would have been perfectly fine. If you say something like Shannon runs a constant speed of 4 miles per hour, that's perfectly fine. Shannon runs 8 miles in 2 hours. Totally good. The one thing about things like this, when you have to kind of interpret or put down an English sentence, as long as you get the point across, I don't really care how you phrase it. Even if it sounds like terrible English, y'all will learn very quickly that I'm not an English person, I'm a math person. So as long as you get the point across, I don't really care what it sounds like. All right. Anyone do? I think a couple people did graph 3. Shannon may have run 3 miles in half an hour, taken a break for an hour, and then run 3 miles back. Great, that could be an option. She goes for a run, then decides to slow down for a jog. Okay, and then a cool down walk. That one might be a little iffy unless she was like jogging in place, because her distance would probably still continue. If this was a speed graph, I would totally say that would be good, because then if she was running, she's probably speeding up while she was running and then running a consistent jog and then cooling down. But since this is a distance graph, and not to like make who wrote that feel bad, I just want to make sure that we're clarifying that. I think most people did the other two. Shannon runs for 3 miles, stops to take a break for an hour, and then runs 3 miles home again. Exactly. Okay, good. And pretty much everyone else who did that one. Ooh, this one's longer. Shannon runs 3 miles away from her home, takes 30 minutes, and goes to the park after spending an hour at the park. Then she runs 3 miles back home, which takes her another 30 minutes. I really like that one because I like the little, we'll just add in like she just chilled at the park for an hour. I really like that one. Okay, cool. And pretty much everyone who did that one did something very similar. Takes a break. Exactly. All right, so I would say something like Shannon ran 3 miles away from home. Away from home. Let's just be super specific and say in half an hour. I'm going to be kind of generic and just say she stopped for an hour. Before running home. If you were to put in a little cute little tidbit like she was shopping or she was at the park, like that one person did, my audio's breaking up. That's not good. All right, plug that back in. Let me know if it keeps being gross, and I might try something different. But hopefully that might have made it okay. But anyway, yeah, if you put in a little extra tidbit of where she actually was during that break, that's kind of cute. But anyway, good job. I don't necessarily, sometimes I like doing a little warm up like this. I might not necessarily have you all write things out every single time, but that's a thing. So before we get started continuing the notes, I want to go through, hopefully, this is the first time I've used this program officially, but I believe I have set up your homework system. So the way you're going to do that is if this, oh, I need to actually share my screen. Right. If you go to Blackboard and go under course content / modules, if like maybe one person could try to do this along with me, that'd be great. But you can also set it up later. It'd be really great if someone could tell me if it actually works. Because it works for me. I just want to make sure y'all can get logged on. But anyway, there's this new folder that says WebWork Access, and you'll click on it. And then essentially anytime you need to go to WebWork, you'll just hit this. And it'll take you to this page. And then what'll happen is your username at this point in time is going to be, well, no, it's going to stay that. So your username is going to be your USC username. So essentially, your email without the at email.sc.edu, essentially the thing you use to log into like everything. Your password is currently going to be your student ID. So if you have your Carolina card handy, it's on the back of your Carolina card. If for some reason you really don't know your student ID number and your Carolina card is lost for some terrible reason, email me, but hopefully y'all should have your student IDs handy. And so that's going to be your password. And essentially once you log in, so mine's going to look way different than yours, obviously, because I have all the instructor hoopla on it. So this is not, actually, let me be smart and use my spoofed student one. That looks the same. Okay, anyway, so yours still won't look like this. I thought I used the right one. Let me try it one last time. Yeah, EP Hannah. Weird. Okay, yours should only come up with something that just says orientation. You shouldn't see all this extra hoopla down here. But if you go to user settings, you'll be able to change your password, and I would very much suggest doing that when you first get in. But essentially, the thing you'll be mainly looking at is the brain. Yours isn't working? Okay, great, lovely. Is the orientation. So let me just babble about this a little bit. Okay. So it seems like I may have messed something up a little bit. All right, so it seems like it's not working. So let me, okay, some people's worked. Fun. All right. Oh, make sure you use the letter in the front as well, like the entire USC ID, the entire thing. But if, okay, awesome. So it's worked for a decent amount of people. If yours doesn't work, shoot me an email. Something must have went wrong somewhere. But shoot me an email if yours didn't work, and I will get you in when I can. But I'm glad to hear that for a lot of people it has worked. So you should see this orientation one. It's not like, I'm not making you do it, but I would definitely suggest going through it. So essentially the homework sets will appear there. You can view them problem by problem, but the nice thing about this orientation is it pretty much just sets you up and lets you know how WebWork works. So WebWork, I can tell you that in just 1 second. So WebWork is going to look a bit more bare bone than you might be used to if you've used a lot of the other fancy, Wiley, Cengage, and all that jazz. But essentially, it's much more bare bone because, hey, it's free. So hopefully that's not too big a deal. Let me get this, answer this person real quick. So essentially the way WebWork works is you'll have to scroll through the problems at the top so you can go to the next problem and the previous problem. Just to make sure you know you have to hit this submit answer before it will mark it as correct and actually record your score. So make sure, and that's essentially what this first one actually tells you, is that if you don't hit submit answers, it's not going to mark it as right. But then once you submit, it essentially tells you at the top whether you're right or not. And through this orientation, the farther you go, it like has you type in a couple things to get you used to the notation. So that's something that you should probably go through. Again, I'm not forcing y'all to do it, but I would suggest going through that over this next week. Your first homework won't show up until Monday, official homework. All right, so authentication failed. All right, so for those of you who it's not working for, if you haven't already, please shoot me an email. I have a couple things. I have a class right after this, and then I have a meeting. But as soon as I can, I will get that sorted. I'm not sure why it would be bad for some of you and not working and working for others, but I will figure it out and let you know. And again, you don't need to be set up until your official homework doesn't start until Monday. So just shoot me an email, and as soon as I can, I will try to figure out why that's not working. But play around with that in the next couple of days. And that's where your homework will be. So before we then continue into more notes, I need to let Zoe introduce herself. You hear Zoe? Yes, you are.
Hi, can everyone see and hear me?
Oh, let me unshare my screen if you want to show yourself. There she is.
Hello. I am Zoe. I'm going to be your SI for this semester. Super pumped. Erin was actually my first business calculus professor and kind of the reason why I wanted to teach this class or help tutor. And that's one of the things I want to touch on today so you guys understand SIs and TAs are a little different. I'm hands-off during class, but I hold tutoring sessions. And those will be 3 times a week, which I don't know the times or dates yet. But I will shoot you emails and send reminds. So that is the next thing I want to do. So does everyone have access to a phone right now? I don't know if you can see people's responses, but I would assume so. Let's see. So a couple of y'all did see my email and did join, which is awesome. But one second. Okay. So you are going to text the number 81010, so 81010, and you're going to text the code at SI for Math 1. So if you can see, and this app is going to be my main source for communication with y'all. I will send emails the first couple of weeks to make sure everyone's getting the information. And yeah, but Remind will be my go-to. And it's just going to remind y'all whenever the sessions are, what times, and if anything changes. Let's see what else. But yeah, so that's all I have to say right now. Super excited for this semester. And yeah, take it away, Erin.
All right. I've just magically moved away from my notes. There we go. So let me get that back up. So the number has been put in chat if you Missed that. It's 81010. Give me just one tiny second. One tinier second. All right, so we don't have a ton of time before we're gonna eventually take the quiz. Remember, don't panic that the quiz isn't really a quiz. It's a tell me a tiny bit about yourself, answer some questions that you might not be able to answer. I want to figure out if anyone knows how to do it already. So as long as you take the quiz, it's graded on correctness. No, completion. It's graded on completion, not correctness. All of your future quizzes will be graded on correctness, but today's is just a very generic diagnostic thing for me. Do not panic about it. But that's going to be in like 10 minutes, so we're just going to do a little baby amount of notes, and then it'll be what it is. But so our first set of so in a minute. It's not up right now. You won't be able to see it. It like pops up exactly when it should pop up. But your quizzes will have will be on Blackboard. The quiz today is not going to have a deadline. I will usually set up a time limit. It's going to be a pretty decent time limit on the quizzes, and they won't be up like all day or anything like that. That's why if for some reason you're going to miss a quiz, you need to let me know so I can open it back up so you can make it up. This quiz will essentially just be open for however long it takes you. It shouldn't take that long, but so little baby amount of notes. So some definitions. Points where the function crosses the horizontal axis are going to be called horizontal intercepts. Oh, I meant to tell y'all one last thing. One last little intro piece. Now this might not work out for you guys as good as it works out for my other class, but I forgot I'm not sharing my official screen. If you're trying to like take notes along with me and you don't have like a printer or whatever handy, if you open these up in Acrobat Reader, if you go off to the side, there's this little pencil that's fill in sign, and if you hit on that and then you have to hit fill in sign again, you can essentially just, you know, put a blank box wherever the heck you want. Now again, for this class, it might not be as helpful because we do a lot of calculations, which would probably be hard to type out. But when it comes to like the definitions and stuff, if that is something that is nice for you, then that's a thing that I didn't know you could do. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, moving on. Back to these definitions. So horizontal intercept. These horizontal intercepts are going to take the form of some x value comma 0. So most of the time you will know these as x-intercepts. So essentially if we have some random graph, every time it crosses the horizontal axis would be one of these horizontal intercepts. The reason we call them horizontal intercepts at this time is because it's not always going to be an xy. Sometimes it'll be pq, sometimes it'll be t something. So it's not necessarily, we want to be careful to not just say x-intercept because sometimes it's a p-intercept or a t-intercept or something. But horizontal intercepts whenever it crosses the horizontal axis. And therefore, similarly, where a function crosses the vertical axis, it's going to be called the vertical intercepts. And those are going to take the form 0y and I don't know, some other random function where it crosses the vertical axis. Now with the vertical intercepts, usually most people think of them as y-intercepts. There's only going to be one of them because otherwise it wouldn't be a function. Because remember, a function has only one output per input. So essentially, if you had two y-intercepts, that would mean that at the value of x equals 0, you had two outputs, which would be bad. And it's also, there's this thing called the vertical line test for a function. Essentially, if you drop a bunch of vertical lines through the function, if it only crosses once, it's a function. If it crosses more than once, it's not. So say we had a circle. If I drop a bunch of vertical lines, it would cross more than once. It wouldn't be a function. But anyway, so there's only ever going to be one, or there could be no vertical intercept. That is possible. But at most, there can only be one vertical intercept if it is actually a function. Reminder, as always, feel free to stop me if I go too fast. But I'm gonna like keep that second half in and try to scroll down to this. So let's say we have this function 360 minus 20t equals h. So again, not necessarily an x-intercept and y-intercept. And it represents a hiker's height above a canyon floor in feet after t minutes, and we want to find and then interpret the intercepts. So say I want to start with the t-intercept. So the thing about intercepts is whenever you want to find one of them, you're going to let the other value be 0. So if I want the t-intercept, then h is going to be 0. And actually, let me like split this up so I don't run out of space. So if we're going to let h be 0, we're going to have this function. T is just going to be t, and we're going to let h be 0. And then we want to solve for t. So I would personally add the 20 over to the other side, the 20t over to the other side. Divide both sides by 20. And so t would be 18. Also, if there's anything like this, most of the time I won't write down like the arithmetic steps. But if y'all need me to do that at any point, or you're like, how did you get from that to the other thing? I can totally write out more steps if necessary. I'm just a little lazy, if I'm honest. So t would be 18. I'm going to come back to the interpreting in a second. So I'm going to pop over to the h-intercept now. Also, as always, stop me with questions if you have them as well. So with the h-intercept, again, if we want the h-intercept, the other variable value is 0. So now we're going to let t be 0. So we have this function where t is going to be 0 and h is going to be whatever that gives us. So in this case, it's kind of nice because we don't really need to do much algebra because anything times 0 is just 0. So we just get that h is 360. I cannot find the source of the echo. Everybody make sure you're muted. I don't see anyone who's not. Does anyone else hear that echo, or am I crazy? Oh! It's me. I was the source of the echo. Okay, anyway. It was all my fault. So we have our t-intercept is 18. It should be gone now, but let me know if it's still there. And our h-intercept is 360. So if we want to interpret these, the one thing you have to be careful of is that these are two completely separate things, okay? A lot of times I see a lot of people kind of combining them together into one point, so they'll have it as a point 18, 30, 360, and that's not a thing. They're two completely separate entities. So the t-intercept would be 18, 0, and the h-intercept would be 0, 360. So they're completely separate. But now if we want to interpret these guys, well, if the t is the time in minutes and the h is the height above a canyon floor, 18:0 would mean 18 minutes height of 0. So essentially after 18 minutes, after hiking, it's a short hike. After hiking, does hiking have a C? I don't know, y'all know I can't spell. After hiking for 18 minutes, they are 0 feet above the canyon floor. If you wanted to say something like after 18 minutes, they're on the canyon floor or something like that, because if they're 0 feet above the canyon floor, they're at the canyon floor. Essentially, again, anything that gets the point across and sounds moderately like English is good for me. Whereas with the 0, 360, that would be 0 minutes, 360. So essentially before they even start going anywhere after 0 minutes, they're 360 feet above. So I don't usually like saying after 0 minutes. So I'll usually say something like they start. So I would say they start 360 feet above the canyon floor. Again, if you said after 0 minutes, they are 360 feet above the canyon floor, that's technically correct. I think saying after 0 minutes sounds a little silly, but whatever, float your boat. As long as it gets the point across that it's 0 minutes, 360 feet above canyon floor. I'm going to scroll down super quick just to make myself remember what's coming up. Okay. Any questions on that? I think I might try to get this next one. Yeah, that quiz shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. So let's take the last 5 minutes to do this one. So we've got Kayla just finished college and finds that she has $66,000 of debt in student loans. Sorry if that's an unfortunate thing to think about. She's determined to pay it off and figures she can pay $1,100, she must have a great job, on her debt per month. Let D equals F of T be the amount of debt that Kayla has left on her student loan T months after she began to pay it off. And we're going to live in a fantasy land where we can ignore interest. So say we want to look at F of 12 being 52,800 and we want to interpret that. Well, since the 12 would be the T value, which would be an amount of months after she began to pay off a loan, and that D amount would be the amount that she has left to pay. So this would essentially give us that after 12 months, Kayla has that 52,800 left to pay in student loans. And then what if I just asked for the meaning of F of 25? Now don't panic that we don't actually know what the actual value is. This is something that's going to come up every once in a while where we want to actually interpret that value without even necessarily knowing what the actual number is. So if you think about it, that 25 again is the amount of months after she began to pay off the loan. So this, even though I don't know what the number is, would be the amount she has left to pay. So the amount, let's be specific. So let's clarify in dollars. Left on Kayla's loan. Let's say student loan, be super specific. After 25 months. Again, we're not exactly sure exactly how much she has left after that point, but that is what that would represent, the amount that she has left to pay after those 25 months. And what if we actually wanted, questions so far? Going once, going twice. Cool. Can we come up with a formula for this actual function? Well, notice that in the beginning statement of the problem, we know the original value that she starts with, and then we know that she's paying off $1,100 a month. And remember that T would essentially be month. So if we wanted to say, sorry, my brain's working too hard. If we're starting at 66,000 and we're paying off 1,100 each and every month, that's essentially that same amount every month. So essentially we can say that this function, if we start at 66,000 and T is in months, then we're going to subtract off 1,100 times the amount of months that we've been going. So that would actually give us the amount for absolutely any month we can think of. Whatever T value is we want to plug in, we can go ahead and find the amount that she would have to pay off at that point, because she starts with the 66,000 and slowly chips off that 1,100 consistently every month. Make sense? I'm going to leave this for a warm-up on Friday. So we'll do that one as a warm-up on Friday. It's kind of what we just talked about. So we're going to use that function to find the 2 intercepts and then interpret them. But I'm going to leave that for a warm-up because I'm starting to get close to the time that I want you guys to start your quiz. So let me make sure y'all can see it. Can't quite see it yet, so let me make it available. So again, your quiz will appear on Blackboard under the assignment tabs. Let me just put that on the screen really quick. So off to the side, you'll see assignment, and you should see quiz 1 diagnostic. Again, I'm not even saying that you should know how to answer all of those questions. The first 2 are personal, so hopefully you know how to answer those. But the math ones, if you don't know how to answer it, it's not the end of the world. Try your best. I just kind of want to see where everybody's at. So that'll be the last 15 minutes of class. Essentially, on quiz days, once you take your quiz, if you're done, you are free to leave. You do not have to stick around for the official ending time. So go ahead and jump on there. I'm going to stop talking. I would say good luck, but you don't really need it because it's not a big thing. But yeah, go ahead and start. And as soon as you're done, you may leave and I'll see you on Friday.